And it is time once again for another AEW Dynamite review here on the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. Hey, how you doing? I'm Warren, over here with you to talk about, break down, and have some thoughts and share some thoughts on the big Dynamite show, the Thanksgiving Eve show that happened on November 26, 2025, over there in Nashville, Tennessee at The Pinnacle. As you can tell right now, if you have the benefit of video, I'm not in my usual spot, which is typically right over there on the armchair over there. That is because I am recording immediately after the show. The show just ended. Typically, as most of you know, not only do I have a tendency, this is the thing, I record the very next day, but I know tomorrow, Thursday, I've got a pretty big day, chock full of personal stuff that I have to get through. So I decided to do this, to record it after Dynamite on the Wednesday. So it's not the day after, it's a few minutes after. So this is, it's a post show. It's an instant reaction. Call it as you may want to. It's not my preferred way of doing things. I like to be able to sleep on this kind of stuff before coming at you with my thoughts and analysis of what's going on. But hey, you know what? Between that and not being able to deliver, I'm like, you know what? We'll be fine. Well, once in a while like this, it's fine. Hey, I used to do post shows in the past. It's not as if this is like uncharted terrain for me. I just have a preference. I prefer to go to bed, sleep on what happened, and think about what happened, and wake up the next morning and then realize, well, okay, do I still feel the same way? Are all the feelings about certain things that happen on the show, are they still in the same place? And so that gives me guidance. That helps me, sort of formulate better thoughts, I guess, despite the fact that, the way I stutter sometimes, maybe it's like, no, Warren, you don't really have any thoughts. This is just really all off the cuff. But you'd be surprised at how much thought I put into this. Anyway, this show was a show that I was looking forward to. I was looking forward to it for two reasons. The obvious one is because it's the start of the Continental Classic, and as many of you know, I am a big fan of tournament wrestling, especially when it comes to the round robin formula. So I was excited for this to start, and especially after the reveal of the field, which was terrific. Like we have just a fantastic field of pro wrestlers for the C2 this year. I was very, very excited. And if you want to hear my thoughts and my preview, my breakdown analysis of how I feel things are going to go, or how, and whatnot, well, give a listen to the Mr. Warren Hayes Show podcast. I have it all right there. And the other reason that I had to be excited for tonight's show was because of Full Gear. Full Gear was a very eventful show. If only the surprise men's world title change. If only for that was very, very unexpected and eventful. I was ready to sit down here and crack my knuckles and go, all right, well, I'm really excited to see how this is going to go. Like, that's what I said on the review. I said, like, everything coming out of Full Gear will all be a question of execution moving forward. And I said, look, I'm very much looking forward to tuning in on Wednesday to see how they handle things with Samoa Joe and whatnot, and not just Samoa Joe. You've got FTR becoming tag team champions. Like, it was a very eventful show, so I was very much looking forward to seeing how this was all going to come together. Well, we'll get to that. We'll definitely get to all of that as this review plugs on here. But for the next couple of reviews, for the next couple of Dynamite reviews, I would suggest talking about the Continental Classic matches. I think I did this last year, right? Where we just talk about the C2 matches in one block, and then after that, once we talk about the C2 matches, then break down the rest of the show. And I'm sure you're all comfortable with that. If not, write a letter to the editor, and we'll even add in the matches that happen on Collision as well when we do our little breakdowns here. I think that'd be fun. Wouldn't that be fun? I think it'll be fun. Before we get into the matches, though, I got to start with the quibble. And actually, it's a pretty massive quibble. It's more than a quibble. It's something that's a little nonsensical, and that's really, really bothering me. And it's this whole situation with the title, with the undisputed, the unified championship, and whatever the fuck it is they're doing, okay? And I listened to how commentary explained it. And I even went back after the show to listen to the explanation again, just to make damn sure I understood. And I wrote it down verbatim. This is word for word, okay? What Excalibur said on live television to explain to us why Kazuchika Okada was no longer the unified champion, okay? And look, I'll just to make sure we're all on the same footing, this is what the head announcer had to say to inform us all as viewers what was going on with the prize at the end, okay? That is because he was pointing out, that he was just coming out with the international title, right? Excalibur says this, quote, "That is because he surrendered the Continental Championship title, which will not be on the line in the tournament, but will be up for grabs for the two finalists at World's End. Okada may not just lose the Continental Championship, but the Unified Championship as well, if he doesn't make it out of the group phase." I think it's pretty clear, okay, that the prize of this tournament is the Continental title. It is not the unified title. It is the Continental title, which was split from the unification process for this tournament. Okay? That, I'm like, all right. But quickly this falls apart. Because if your prize is the Continental Championship, and you as AEW, earlier this year, in 2025, decided to unify these two mid-card belts, the Continental title and the International title, into one bigger, more prestigious title. If you decided to do that, one would have assumed that would have been the bigger, better prize. But no, you're splitting them up again. So now, technically, I know Okada is being introduced as the unified champion, but he didn't come out with the unified championship because the titles have been split. All right? And as Excalibur said, if he doesn't win the Continental Championship at the end of the tournament, he will not be unified champion anymore. There will not be a unified champion anymore if he doesn't make it out of the block phase. Or the league phase in this case, I guess we should call it. Right? Because if he doesn't make it to the World's End semifinals, there's no one who's going to be defeating him. Not even the semifinals, like even the finals. There's no one that's going to be defeating him for the international title. So it doesn't make sense. And it makes even less sense when you consider that when it's like, ergo, that means in this tournament, okay, it means that the unified championship has no weight. Whatever Okada unified is meaningless because we can split the titles up at any given opportunity. That's why now it's all becoming obvious. The reason why Okada would walk around with Don Callis holding on to the two other belts while Okada wore the unified championship. Because right now, there is a possibility in this tournament that Kazuchika Okada could end the tournament being nothing but the being nothing but the international champion. Like, even if he makes it to the semifinal, even if he makes it to the finals, let's say in the grand scheme, okay, let's say we're booking the entire thing. We're doing a little fantasy booking, and we're going along with the narrative that Okada and Takeshita are going to meet at the end, and Takeshita is going to win the Continental Classic. Well, Takeshita is winning the Continental title. He's the international title is not on the line in this tournament. Okada is not putting up the international title. He's not putting it up for grabs in every league match that he has. Otherwise, that wouldn't make sense. Otherwise, Kyle Fletcher would have won it tonight, and then you could go around and hot potato it throughout the tournament. Like, it doesn't make sense. None of this makes sense. So if and when Takeshita wins the C2, he's not winning the Unified Championship. He's winning the Continental title. And then, Okada walks out of the C2 and he still has a title, and it's the international title, which has exactly the same reason for existence as the newly introduced national title. The national title was introduced with the exact same parameters of the international title, which was it will be defended everywhere in different promotions, so on and so. Like, it was literally the basis of the existence of the All Atlantic title that then became the international title. It's the exact same thing. I am completely baffled by this. 100% baffled. And I feel like we're going back to the first Continental Classic, right? When no one knew exactly what the prize was. When there was, Eddie Kingston putting up his Ring of Honor title, and then the Strong title, and then you had the fucking Continental belt, and no one knew exactly, well, is it a Triple Crown? How does this work? Like, I'm sorry, folks. This is we're not off to a rousing start here. Whoever thought it out very poorly. I don't know why we're suddenly splitting up belts that were unified. They were fucking unified. Do you know what unification means? It means we're merging the history, the timeline of both titles into one. And now suddenly we're splitting them back up again. And we're splitting them back up into a situation where then we're going to have too many mid-card titles running around AEW again. And two of which are essentially going to be carbon copies of each other. The international title and the national title. As far as their purpose goes. I am completely baffled. I do not understand this. I need guidance on what the fuck is going on here. Like, they still introduced Okada as the unified champion, even though he had to relinquish a title. So he's no longer the unified champion. I cannot be the only one who was sitting there completely baffled. And I swear, I had to go back at the end of the show. I went back and I listened to what Excalibur explained, and it's exactly what I understood the first time. I'm like, this does not make any lick of sense. None of it makes sense. And then it just furthers a feeling that what was done here, or the unification of those titles, was just nonsense. Yeah, there was no real reason to do it. There's no real reason to do it here. Tony Khan could have just been like, it's going to be the universal, the unified title moving forward from now on. That's going to be the title that's going to be defended, because that's the one that has the Continental Classic lineage. And everyone would have went, that, sure, yep. Everyone would have just nodded along and said, okay, sure, that, the simplest answer here. But no, we have to make this really fucking complicated. We have to make it really, really fucking complicated. And then on top of that, nonsensical. Like, if Okada loses this match at this tournament, he's still the international champion. Makes no sense. It just doesn't make any sense. It sucks because it really made me upset. It made me upset because it's so simple. It's so simple. And AEW has a knack to make these things so overly complicated. They really do. Just like they did the first year. Last year, smooth sailing. Because we had already established, the Continental title, and everything was clear last year. Everyone was like, all right, no bullshit, no strong open weight championship, no Ring of Honor world champion, like nothing, just clear skies. And now we're back this year and we have to muck it up again. Then your stakes are not clear. Why? Like, what is the point of winning the Continental title? You're just gonna have a Continental champion back again in this this unified championship that you had still doesn't make any sense. Look, maybe by tomorrow, when I release this review, maybe by tomorrow, all of what I'm talking about is going to be a moot point, because maybe Tony hopped on Twitter and started up one of his live streams and broke down the whole thing and retconned what was said on Dynamite, which actually makes things worse, because that would be proof that no one put some real thought behind it until people like myself started complaining about it. Like, it didn't have to be this complicated. It didn't have to be this complicated. Why did it have to be a title belt in the first place? Why did it have to be something that you would have to carry and could defend throughout the year? Why couldn't it have been just a trophy? Just a fucking nice, 6-foot trophy or 5'5" trophy, right? One of these big, beautiful trophies. Why couldn't it have been just that? With the layers. You know what I'm talking about? I don't know exactly what the terms are. My phraseology around the terminology of trophies is a little lacking. I'll admit that much. But you could have had just a nice prize. You could have had a big fucking medal. You already have a guy running around with a ring that he defends once a year. It could have been the same thing, but in an actual tournament as opposed to just one goddamn battle royal. It's already kind of, I don't want to say complicated and I don't want to say convoluted, but it's like it was already a little over the top. And now we're back to, and now things seem to have settled, and now we're right back to where we were. We're right back to where we were at the very first C2, where it's just and we don't quite understand what the prize is. What about the bigger prize, which is the unified championship? It might not be around because no one's going to be winning the universal championship. The unified championship. No one's going to be winning the unified championship in this tournament. No one is walking away from this tournament as the unified champion. Someone is going to walk out with it's going to be Okada. He's going to walk out with the international championship, a title that was basically replaced by the national championship. Just baffling decisions. Just a baffling decision. I don't know what baffling. But listen, aside from that, okay, if we set that aside, on this night, we had 2 matches per block, per league, excuse me, it's still the G1 terminology that's permeating here. 2 matches per league, and it was a terrific evening of pro wrestling. Like, setting all of the inherent frustration that I had around this whole prize mess again, back again this year, where I thought everything was just like clear. And anyway, let's not rehash it again. aside from that, like if we just focus on what happened, the matches were terrific. We had some legitimately terrific matches that happened in this first night of Continental Classic action. A couple that I even consider great in it. Kazuchika Okada, or actually Kyle Fletcher, defeated Kazuchika Okada in the very first match, not only of the Gold League but of the tournament. They decided to open the whole 9 yards with it, right at the 8 o'clock hour, at the top of the hour. Which again, look, trust me when I tell you, when I've been telling a few people recently, the main event of the show, like the real big spots that AEW covets, are the quarter hours that happen on the hour, the 8 o'clock hour, the 9 o'clock hour. Sure, Claudio and Orange Cassidy may have main evented the show, but you can always see by who is placed at 8 p.m. and at 9 p.m. what the company is really leaning into, who they feel is in the best spot, like the true main event slots when it comes to weekly television. This is another thing for pay-per-views. We're talking about the weekly television. So look at that, like probably one of the most anticipated matches of the entire tournament, starting off Dynamite in the very first hour. That was a big, bold move. And this match was great. I thought this was a terrific, great match that showed here that Okada showed a lot of respect to Kyle Fletcher even before the loss. Shook his hand. They did little hand gestures, and they weren't really taking any real cheap shots on each other, right? Like there's a couple of instances where you had those, these spots now where the ref is sort of cornered and the ref, cowers in the corner. And meanwhile, that's usually an opening for a heel to do a low blow or something like that. And these were both heels in this match, and neither of them went that route. They really went for a competitive match full of respect for one another. And, they were dropping each other. Okada was working hard. Fletcher was working hard. Elbow drop by Okada. There was a superplex by Kyle, a half and half by Kyle as well. Draping DDT by Okada on the floor. And they go into this great, like, New Japan style final stretch where they're doing big moves. They're doing pile drivers. They're doing Michinoku drivers. And then we get the 15-minute call, right? And it's like, oh, all right. The 15-minute call, does that mean we're going time? No, we didn't go time, because we had this incredible finish where Okada's trying to land the Rainmaker on Fletcher, and Fletcher counters the Rainmaker with a beautiful roll-up, like a gorgeous small package, and gets the win. And like something that popped me, that is, whoa! And it was just so smooth and crisp and just a beautifully executed full motion reversal that I was like, wow, what a fucking way to end the match. So an incredible finish. I gave this 4 stars, by the way. Like, this, to me, this is a 4-star match. Most importantly, I think one of the things that they did here, which is very important, and maybe it will have an impact later on in the tournament, but maybe not, but calling time in a match where time is not a factor, where you're not going to go to the 20-minute time limit draw, calling the time in a match that did finish with a pin nonetheless. I think that'll be important moving forward. For any other match that they're going to want to do the draw for, well, then it won't immediately be a signal that we're going for a draw. Because when I heard the 15-minute call, I'm like, oh, really? The first match is going to go for a draw? They can't do that. And they didn't, thankfully. But now it's reset my expectations. Whereas my expectations would have been, since AEW never calls time during the matches, my expectation now is like, oh, so even if they do call a match, they do call time during a match, it doesn't mean that we're going to time. So I appreciated that. I think that's going to be significant moving forward. And after the match, Okada, disappointed in himself, but realizes what happened, shakes Kyle Fletcher's hand. So, so this also served to reinforce this idea that Okada just doesn't like, I was going to say Kaito Kiyomiya, but wow, my brain went there. And it's actually a really interesting comparison like that. Anywho, but it shows that he just doesn't like and doesn't respect Kensuke Takeshita, whereas Kyle Fletcher, who is, one of Takeshita's friends, he has no issues with. Now, is he playing, or does he? The point being is the point that's being constructed here is that Okada really does not see anything in Kensuke Takeshita, and that's very cool. That continues to add to that story. But I thought this was a very, very strong opener. I think this was a great way to start off the tournament. It was very good stuff. So 3 points for Kyle Fletcher, while the Rainmaker is starting off with the goose egg. Jon Moxley defeated Mascara Dorada in the first Blue League block match. This was good. This was a strong, very good match. Lots of groundwork to start between the two. Mascara Dorada's trying to get some aerial offense on, but Moxley's got his number. Even anti-airs him after Dorada does attempts to jump off the stage. He eats a big uppercut from Moxley. But Dorada does fight back, and he hits a cutter over the guardrail into the audience, which is tremendous. He lands a code red and a tornado, and then locks in a Jujigatame, which gets a big reaction from the crowd, and Jon Moxley starts to panic. And I myself am there going, oh my God, the Jon Moxley story has been this good, where I'm like, Dorada may have him here, kind of thing, So I thought that was interesting. Dorada then hits the 450. Moxley kicks out. He goes for a shooting star press. Mox lifts the knees and gets him in a Darcy choke for the win. And there you go. And after the match, well, then you have Marina Shafir, who pops in and gets a couple of licks in on Mascara Dorada. This was very good. Not as good as the opener, but this was very solid. In the preview, I was saying that Mascara Dorada here has a series of first-time matches, so that's very exciting in the blue Blue League. But a good, solid effort here. I'd give it a 3.5-star match. I thought this was very, very good, well done, entertaining. Nothing wrong with it. Nothing that'll knock your socks off. But this was very, very good. Of course, there's the post-match angles and whatnot, but we'll get to that once we're done talking about the C2 matches. Next one we're going after is Kevin Knight defeating Darby Allin. You want to talk about a little surprise upset? The Kyle Fletcher win, I guess, I think came as a surprise to most people. I think a lot of folks were expecting old Kazu to get the win there. Kevin Knight defeating Darby Allin is another one where it's like, oh, okay. I mean, this might be Kevin Knight's only win of the tournament as well. This may follow the Gedo booking pattern of, having one guy that you don't expect to get a big win, right? Get his big win on night one and then lose all of his other matches, right? So that still may be the case. I'm not jumping up and down and saying, oh my God, this may be Kevin Knight's year. This was an extremely strong match. I thought it was a lot of fun. Darby Allin at first, having a great counter game to everything that Kevin Knight was trying to do. So that made it so that Allin would be in control for the better part of the first third of the match at the very least. And then we start getting some great spots. Kevin Knight does a moonsault off the rail. Great suicide dive by Darby, as only he can do them. An avalanche backdrop suplex by Kevin Knight. Missile dropkick off the stage by Darby Allin. DDT on the ramp by Kevin Knight. And then he makes his way back to the ring and tells the ref to count. He's fine with a count out win. Smart guy, sure, he's a babyface, but it's fine. He can take your 3 points whichever way you can, brother. And there's this tremendous spot when Darby is trying to make his way back into the ring and Kevin Knight hits the ropes and does a diving lariat over the top rope onto the stage. Well, the ramp anyway. Fantastic stuff. Darby Allin lands a code red. A great coast to coast by Kevin Knight, followed by the UFO for the win. And I was like, oh, I was a little surprised there. Tremendous, a tremendous match. I'd give this 3 3/4 stars. A lot of fun, good stuff. A nice, respectful handshake. I thought Kevin Knight looked tremendous in this match. I think this is a guy, especially having done tournaments in Japan. I think he understands the mandate here. And I think he understands that, look, I might not be in a position where I'm going to win, but I'm in a position where I can shine here. And, as much as Kevin Knight has had a terrific rookie year in AEW, right? Like, I don't think there's any argument against that. He's been on television practically every week. He's endeared himself to the AEW audience. He's in a great tag team with Speedball. I think that he hasn't really had an opportunity to shine as a singles all that much. This is definitely going to be the opportunity here to showcase himself, and it started off strong on that front. And then we had the last match, which also happened to be the main event, the last match of the C2 action for the Blue League. Claudio Castagnoli defeated Orange Cassidy in a terrific match. I thought this was another excellent, great match that look, this show was bookended by great matches. I thought this was extremely good, telling the very plausible, logical story that Orange Cassidy has all the heart in the world, and he's going to do his best to try and take down the bigger, stronger, faster, like the purest of pure athletes that is Claudio Castagnoli, who just may become CMLL World Heavyweight Championship in a couple of days. Yeah, on top of it all, that might be something that'll happen. Look, I thought this was I thought it was great, and Claudio's just swinging Orange Cassidy around. Again, we've seen this recently, but the guys took it up a notch. I thought the final third of this match was absolutely fantastic. With Orange, really, they did such a good job building to Orange's babyface comeback at the end, and the babyface comeback was so convincing and real, and Cassidy doing his big impact moves like the beach break, and he survives a Swiss death at the same time. Orange punches, DDTs, Hurricane Ranas, but Claudio out of nowhere just tosses him up in the air. One last Swiss death in this, and he puts Orange Cassidy away in this Chikara versus Chikara match. Look, tremendous stuff. I thought this was extremely well done. I thought this it was very well worked and a great in-ring story that didn't feel like, oh, it's an underdog tale. Even though that's what it was, it didn't feel like that. It didn't insult our intelligence to the point where, like, Orange Cassidy's like looking at the audience going, what is it going to take this guy down, kind of thing, You just saw the grit, the effort that he was putting in to try and take Claudio down, and you got behind it because Orange Cassidy's a great babyface. He has this great connection, despite the fact that he loses all the time. So 3 points for Claudio. So right now, we don't have to necessarily break down these standings. We've got first of all, both blocks have not completed all of their action yet, and it's the first night out. So what are we doing here? Maybe we can talk about the post show, the post match angle, since we're here, and then we'll go back to the rest of the show. But after the match, man, the Death Riders come in to celebrate with Claudio next week. It was announced next week we're getting Mox versus Claudio on Dynamite already. So I think that's a wrench that's being thrown into the idea that the Death Riders are going to turn on Mox during this tournament. I don't think that's when I don't think it's going to happen now. I could be wrong. If Mox versus Claudio happened like on the last night of block action, then it'd be like, oh, we might be onto something here. But like they're not turning next week. I still think it's a bit of a pipe dream. I think there's a lot of headcanon that's being created around this one, right? Nonetheless, everyone came out to celebrate all of the Death Riders, and then Wheeler Yuta started egging Orange Cassidy on, and that led to all of the Death Riders piling up on Orange Cassidy, which then led to the entire locker room of C2 participants emptying out to come and fight in a big, unenergetic, uninspired, lazy pull-apart brawl type of thing, or a schmoz, more of a schmoz than a brawl. I thought it was very, very low energy and low effort. I also thought it was also kind of weird, that I thought it was kind of weird that all of the C2 participants come out to chase off the heels, where it's like everyone is fighting each other in this tournament. Like Roderick Strong and Orange Cassidy are going to go after each other, and no, they don't have to. They don't have to like be aggressive unnecessarily against each other. They can still show respect and whatnot. But they're all like like all of these people will be fighting everyone else. Why are you coming in to? I don't know. Okada was the only one that I thought made any sense here, where he came out at the top of the ramp and he just stared and went, ooh. It's like, I'm not going down there. It's like, no. And I'm like, no, you should not. It makes no sense. I really didn't like the idea, and I hated the execution. I thought everything was so low effort and low energy, but I think this is something that permeated pretty much throughout everything that was not directly a Continental Classic match. We'll get to everything, but I think there's some stuff that happened on the show here that just didn't contribute to making things exciting. And in fact, this is a show that reinforces what I was talking about a couple of weeks ago in regards to what a signature AEW show should be, right? Where, when I was talking about the Blood and Guts Dynamite, 3 weeks ago at this point, I said ultimately this was a signature AEW show because it focused on what it does best. And tonight it focused on things. No, that's not true. There were things on this show that are not what AEW does best. And what AEW did best, which is the matches, the C2, that got everyone excited and into it. But there was other stuff on this show that was just like, this wasn't great. In particularly one angle, right? And look, we might as well talk about it then, since I'm out, like I'm kind of referencing it obliquely, but the angle between the Ops and Hangman Adam Page and Swerve was terrible. What an awful 2016 WWE angle that was just run. We're having a championship celebration for the Ops. If there is one guy that I would assume would not have anything to do with a world championship celebration, it is Samoa Joe. He should just come out and start talking shit. He should be just running down the roster, not this championship celebration bullshit. But that's what he does. He comes out, and that's what they announce it as a championship celebration. And then as he's talking, we cut to the Tonytron to show Prince Nana driving Swerve Strickland into the building, who's got chains around his neck. And he starts walking in the backstage area, presumably towards the ring. And joining him, just out of camera frame, suddenly appears the Hangman Adam Page, who he as well has some chains and is ready to go. Oh, and there's a staple gun involved as well from Swerve Strickland. But this doesn't, So what does Joe do? He says, go get the scrubs. He tells that to Shibata. Literally, go get the scrubs. So then we bring out the Ops Dojo again, making its second ever appearance, right? We bring out, the local talent with the Ops t-shirts who are going to, you already see where this is going. They're going to take a beating when the two top baby faces of the company finally make their way to the ring. But before that happens, before even we get to this point, we have to bring in Hook and say, ha ha ha, it was our plan all along. And then play bits of Hook, cutting promos, saying, when he said, I'm going to have to stand on my own, or will I, and all that shit, and trying to connect the dots and show, look, it was this great 4D chess play that Samoa Joe was involved in with Hook, who never really left the Ops. Look at all of the trail of breadcrumbs here that you guys didn't pick up on. And I'm sitting there and I'm waiting to be. I'm open to this. And I'm like, all right, I see what you're doing here. Blow my mind now. Show me everything that I missed out on that I was like, oh, then that will turn around on me and go, oh shit. And I never saw this coming, like a Sixth Sense type of situation, right? The movie I'm talking about. Not jack shit. I'm like, this is a little forced, right? You're looking for ways to connect it. Yes, okay. Hook tapped quickly and so on and so forth, but I'm like, all right, this doesn't feel like some kind of huge revelation. And then they have Hook starting to cut a promo, calling everyone hillbillies or rednecks or whatever the fuck. And then the baby faces arrive with their music. So terribly shot in the back of the building. I don't know why they came in from the back of the building instead of out front, where everyone would have loved to see them. No one saw them. We didn't see Swerve Strickland on camera because everything was so fucking poorly lit. We saw Hangman take a shot as he came in next to the bar. We saw Hangman take a shot. That was well lit. But Swerve could have been anyone at that point. And then all of a sudden there's the baby faces then taking out all of the Ops Dojo, all of the scrubs. And that I also thought was not great and sort of listless. The Ops took a powder. Look, here's one thing though. I have trouble buying Samoa Joe being the cowardly heel. I have an issue with it. It doesn't come across as convincing to me. This is a guy who comes across as a legitimate tough guy that I feel should not be running away from these types of situations. Okay, so it does make the Hangman Swerve alliance feel bigger than it is, right? It's the mega powers, right? Right now, like that's the idea, right? So I understand that he being Samoa Joe takes a powder because maybe this is all too much for him, right? But I would have handled this so differently because I thought this segment fell flat. It did not have the impact that they hoped it would because the execution was incredibly poor. From teasing the baby faces arriving to then going to Hook, bringing out Hook, to then the baby faces finally making it to inside the venue, to the beatdown and then hanging two of the scrubs with the chains. I'm like, okay, I see where we're going. Okay, I understand where we're going. But you know what I would have liked? I would have liked a little fire from the baby faces. I would have liked the Hangman to get on a microphone and just be piss and vinegar. And I would have liked a little clarity as to why suddenly Swerve and Hangman are hand in hand buddies as if nothing ever happened. Because I remember one of the last interactions that they had on the route to All In was, a certain show of respect where Swerve was sort of swallowing his pride and Hangman was, feeling bad about what happened. And they kind of both agreed tenuously to not get into each other's way and look we're going to do what's right type of situation here. And I appreciated that. But Swerve came out after the match, and if he's eyeing Samoa Joe, it's probably because he wants a shot at that title. Because they have, they fought before. Swerve is the guy who beat Joe for the title. So maybe he's like, hey, you know what? I want another shot here. Why is it that we have an alliance? Why isn't Swerve going after the title himself, which I feel is a very Swerve Strickland character trait? Why is Hangman completely on board with this? Sure, they're not talking to each other. They're being stoic and, tough guy alpha males with each other. And it's cool, don't get me wrong. But I think it could have been cooler. I would have forfeited. You know what you do? You forfeit Samoa Joe doing his little song and dance. Instead, on Wednesday on Dynamite, we will hear from Hangman Adam Page. And Hangman Adam Page comes to the ring and he's pissed off. He's mad. And then Swerve comes out unannounced. And they have a little exchange and they give us the clear reality of what this relationship is going to be for the next couple of months. It's like, look, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. It could be as simple as that. But Hangman, we're going to have a problem soon because you're going to want the title back and I'm going to want the title back. And this is going to be ultimately the problem. And that is the story of these two guys. It was always around who's going to be the world champion. Am I going to keep you from, and I'm going to keep you from being world champion and whatnot. That's the whole crux of their story. And because they know, essentially this town ain't big enough for the two of us. That's the story of Hangman Page and Swerve Strickland. And then as they're arguing, maybe not arguing, but as the tension begins to build between the two, cue Samoa Joe coming out on the ramp, making fun of both of them instead of whatever the fuck this was, which was not fun. A stupid ass sports entertainment angle that was poorly executed, poorly presented. It was not good, folks. It was not good. And it deflated me from what happened at Full Gear. It deflated me because I was looking forward to this. I was excited to see what was going to be the next step. And it turns out the next step is, I don't know, probably going to be some kind of multi-man match, maybe a tag, maybe a trios title match. Maybe, when Tony Khan said that Will Ospreay would be joining us, would be coming back sooner than everyone believed he'd come back. Maybe we're going to get all three of these guys back together and they're going to have themselves a good old-fashioned match for the trios titles at World's End. And the three baby faces, the three top faces of the company are going to become trios champions. And won't that be fun? I mean, after all, the trios championships are the most protected fucking titles on this entire, in the entire roster of AEW. Like, if there's one, I don't know why they don't fuck with these titles in any way, shape, or form. They just don't fuck with them. I am not, look, I'm going to be, I am trying to remain optimistic, okay? I am trying to keep an open mind here, but if in their attempt, if this was an attempt, no, well, not only, it's not if, this week was an attempt to create some excitement after the events of Full Gear. And it didn't work. I don't think this was successful. I think it was very flat. Very bland. Whereas after Full Gear, I was jazzed. I was like, okay, new directions, new things. We got, we threw a monkey wrench in everyone's vision. What's the plan? I'm excited for it. And what I got instead was this angle that was poorly done and didn't get me excited about anything. In fact, I was kind of like, man, this all sucks. This all kind of stinks tonight. Thank God we had the C2 matches. All right, let's go for the rest of the show. Let's go for the rest of the show. We early on in the show, we had a backstage interview with Kenny Omega where he basically said, look, I was fooled by Don Callis and, the fans gave me another chance. I think it's fair that the Jacksons get another chance. And then it was Lexi Nair who was interviewing him at the door to his locker room. And then he says, okay, thanks, Lexi. And he closes the door to his locker room. And she just stands there staring into the camera. And you're like, oh, okay, well, this is going to fade to black in a second because that's what happens in professional wrestling when an interview is done. They just stare into the camera or into the void while waiting for the cue to say, okay, cut, we're out. But instead, the Young Bucks walk out of the locker room and, the fences are being mended. The Elite is returning. But I got to tell you, Kenny Omega, man, he looked rough. He looked rough. I mean, I wish nothing for the best and for Kenny Omega to be Kenny Omega, right? But holy smokes, that was it the lighting? Was it the makeup or lack of? I don't know, but he looked rough as hell. We get the Mark Briscoe promo that most of you probably saw on social media, which was excellent. Then we had the Babes of Wrath defeating the Sisters of Sin. The Babes of Wrath, of course, being Willow Nightingale and Harley Cameron, defeating Julia Hart and Sky Blue in the AEW Women's World Tag Team Championship Tournament semifinal. This match stunk. God bless Willow Nightingale keeping this match together, because holy shit, there were people who were actively working against this match not working out. Julia Hart missing that moonsault by light years is embarrassing. Sky Blue flubbing some moves is embarrassing. Harley Cameron did her best, but she's the greenest of them all. You had one ring general in this match, and that was Willow Nightingale, and goddamn, she did everything she could to keep this, but it was falling apart at the seams. Like, it's a tag team match, so she can't be there all the time. She's not a miracle worker. Jesus Christ. Like, I didn't expect much out of this match. I didn't expect it to be this bad. This match was bad. Then we had the Samoa Joe celebration. Then we saw the John Moxley promo where he's putting over the fact that he sent Kyle O'Reilly to the hospital. Again, this is a promo that you probably saw on social media. An excellent one by John. This is the one that everyone, has been giving it the Zapruder treatment, right? Where they're taking screenshots of all the Death Riders side-eyeing each other, when Mox is talking, and what are they looking at, and are they shaking their heads? Like everyone is going frame by frame to sort of isolate the discontent in Pac's eyes, or the side-eyeing from Yuta, or Claudio Castagnoli, giving the camera knowing looks and so on and so forth. So, a great promo, don't get me wrong, because Mox is excellent. But look, if Kyle has to go to hospital and can't be in here in the tournament, which is a shame, by the way, but if he can't be in the tournament, then Mox using it for heat is the best possible outcome. After Mox's victory, Tony Storm came out because after Mox's win against Mascara Dorada, Tony Storm came out to confront Marina Shafir, who had joined Mox after the match. Of course, didn't come with him ringside. That's forbidden for the C2. But Tony Storm came out and basically was talking shit about Marina, but also coming after, sort of teasing Mox at the same time, sort of giving offhanded comments about Marina as if she was talking to Mox, as if Marina wasn't around, but also, sort of teasing the idea that Tony Storm would like to mix it up with Jon Moxley, and I don't, I'd be okay with that. That'd be new and fresh, and I wouldn't hate it. But ultimately, what this was about is Tony Storm coming out to announce the stipulation for the semifinal match, which is going to be a hardcore holiday death match. That's what we're getting next week for the Timeless Love Bombs versus Megan Bayne and Marina Shafir. We get a nice little backstage promo from Chris Statlander. I think her backstage promos are getting slowly better. I'm not saying that suddenly she's an incredible revelation, but there has been work being put into it, and reinforces, like, they're giving us really the hard sell that Chris Statlander is a legitimate women's world champion, that she should be taken seriously, because there's a lot of people who still don't. Basically saying, look, I'm the only person here in this company who has won the TBS title and the US and the AEW women's world title. Plus, I'm the only person who has pinned both Toni Storm and Mercedes Moné. So what do you want? What more do you want? I'm your woman. So she's basically throwing out a challenge, saying, okay, whoever's ready, come after me. So that question will probably be answered soon. They also had a little video package of FTR's tag team title win at Full Gear, and an Eddie Kingston promo. Basically disappointed that about what happened with Hook. I don't know how disappointed he can be. Like, they've been hanging out for like 3 weeks or whatever the fuck, something like that. 4 weeks. And he said, Joe, I heard you say my name. Well, I'm coming after you guys, starting with Katsuyori Shibata on Collision. Next on Collision, that's right, this week. And promising Thanksgiving violence. And there you go. That is the show. Thank God we had the Continental Classic matches, which are all very good to excellent. I thought we were spoiled as far as match quality went. It was tremendous stuff, because there's a lot of stuff that surrounded the matches, and it's a lot of stuff that happened on the show that is just not worth your time and was complete and utter junk. So thankfully, we have C2 season to carry us and make sure that these shows are great, because it ain't going to be the Sisters of Sin, and it ain't going to be angles like we got with Samoa Joe and the baby faces, the AEW mega powers that are going to ensure that we stay excited about AEW these days, because oh boy, this review is finished. We're done for today. Thank you everyone for listening. If you haven't already, leave a like on this video on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes, or a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, or a 5-star rating on Spotify if you're listening to this on the podcast environment. I will be back later tonight, Thursday, to live stream here. It is not Thanksgiving here in Canada, so I'll hop on and see what's going on. And if you want to escape your family and whatnot, I'll be your huckleberry. Let me be your safe space away from your uncle who has these terrible opinions and whatnot. So I'll be back later to do that today. So thank you everyone for watching. Go watch some Randy Orton and get back to me, and I'll see you next time.